is Ron Chinzer, and I am your Conservative Party of Canada Common Sense candidate for the beautiful Oakville East, and I have the honor and pleasure of thanking and welcoming you all here today to the city of Brampton for a Stop with the Crime rally. With the number of people in this room, if we all did that tomorrow, think about the impact we would have all over the country and how much closer we'd be to getting there as our next meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, because they left the charge, today we have 3+ police associations endorsing the Conservative Party and growing all over the country. And I don't want to take all this thunder, but Adrian Woolley, I would ask that you come up here, the president of the Pierre Regional Police Association, representing over 3,500 members. Adrian Woolley.
Well, good evening, Brampton, and welcome to Stop the Crime Rally. My name is Adrian Woolley, and I've proudly served as the president of the Peel Regional Police Association. And I've worked in Peel, I've worked here in Brampton for more than 25 years. I started just down the street in 21 Division. That was my home base, and this was one of my patrol zones. So when I tell you, I used to work on these streets, I used to look after these neighborhoods, and take care of these communities, I'm telling you, I know that from the bottom of my heart because I've worked in. But I'm proud to stand here today and say that the Peel Regional Police Association is here to make a change. Make a change with all of you and support a leader who will make this better. Pierre will restore mandatory minimums. He will slam the revolving door of criminality and put violent offenders where they belong, behind bars. It is no longer acceptable for them to be out on our streets. He will put victims before criminals. He will put families before politics, and he will put safety before ideology. My friends, this isn't about right or left. This is about right and wrong. So let's take back our communities. Brampton, let's bring it home.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Adrian Woolley leading the charge in the entire Now, ladies and gentlemen, in just a few minutes, we're going to kick this off. So get your cell phones ready, get your signs ready, get that energetic chant ready, because we're going to kick this off with a few guest speakers, and then we're going to get to the one and only Pierre Poilievre. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Brampton, are we ready? Are we ready to bring it home? Are we ready to put Canada first? Are we ready for a common sense conservative government led by Pierre Poilievre? We are going to start today's rally with singing together our national anthem. And for that, may I please request you all if you can rise.
Well, those of you that may not know, my name is Barngale. I am the candidate for the great riding of Milton East, Halton Hill South. everybody knows, I have one important question to ask all of you first and foremost. After the lost Liberal decade with the cost up, crime up, economy down, and under the America's thumb, do we still think that the Liberals deserve the 4th term? Is it time to put Canada first for a change? That will tax, that will build homes, that will unleash resources, stop crime, and bring home jobs that stand up to President Trump from a strong position of strength. Absolutely. Common sense Canadians like you, we need change. And the person to deliver that change is none other than our Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre. Here to tell you more about the only man who can't stop Mark Carney, I have the pleasure of introducing to you Ana Poilievre. A little bit about Ana. Ana is an entrepreneur dedicated to advocate against human trafficking, a staunch supporter of women empowerment, born in Venezuela and raised in Montreal. Ana moved to Ottawa in 2006, where she met her future husband, of course, Pierre Poilievre, in 2012. They married in 2017. An active member of the Conservative movement, she is the driving force behind the Conservative merch and Pierre's #1 supporter. In 2024, she launched their Story Matter, an online platform dedicated to giving a voice to survivors of human trafficking. Ana is committed to supporting women and elevating them through her online magazine, Pretty and Smart Co, and her Lead Her Forward initiative, which seeks to pay it forward by inspiring, connecting, and elevating women. But she will tell you that her greatest accomplishments in the most important role are being a supportive wife and proud mother of Valentina and Cruz. So without further ado, please help me welcome Ana Poilievre to the stage.
She can wear high heels and flannel. She'll look sexy and cute. She likes snowstorms and golden light. Yeah, she'll love Canadian girl. Canadian girl.
Hello. Well, Canada, here we are at a crucial time where we must decide whether we're going to elect for a 4th time the same Liberal team that has weakened our economy, brought us unaffordable housing, rising crime, and left us vulnerable in the face of the threats of Donald Trump, or are we going to elect a Conservative government to put Canada first for a change? This journey began for my husband and my family about 3 years ago, when Pierre decided to run for the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Ever since that day, my husband has been traveling from coast to coast to coast, so that he can step away from the Ottawa bubble and speak with Canadians directly. My husband has been right here at home fighting with us, because what we need is a government and a leader for the people and by the people. But you know, he has been doing this way more than 3 years. Pierre has been here in public service, fighting for our youth, our immigrants, our families, our seniors, and that is something honorable. So Mr. Carter looks down at my husband and says that he doesn't know how the world works. I'll tell him, my husband knows how Canada works and how to make it work for all of us, not just the tax dodgers. And you know, I'm very happy to be here by my husband's side. I've been here since the beginning. I've attended every single press conference, every rally. I believe in my husband. I believe in all of his policies. But in order to really understand why we're doing this, you gotta know who is the man and the family behind those policies. My husband, he was born in Calgary from a teenage mother who gave him out for adoption to 2 school teachers from Saskatchewan. They worked really hard and they lived paycheck to paycheck. Pierre fought for everything he has. Nothing was handed to him. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and my family immigrated here in 1995 when I was 8 years old. We arrived in Montreal, and we lived in the east end of Montreal, in a working class neighborhood, 6 of us crammed in a small basement apartment. My father, who's here tonight, this man here, my dad, he was a bank manager back home, and I remember being a little girl and watching him put his business suit every morning. And then we moved here, and he traded his business suit for secondhand clothes. He went and picked up fruit and vegetables. We didn't speak the language, and that's all he could do. And he had to do it to afford food for our family. Later on, he had 3 minimum wage jobs and worked really hard so that we can get ahead. By the time that I was 17, I had moved out of home and I became 100% financially independent. When I was 19, I left Montreal and moved to Ottawa. I took a student loan so I could put myself through university, and I was also working full-time so that I could pay rent and food. And when I turned 25 as a single woman, a few months before I met my husband, I was working in the Senate, and I had saved enough money to put a down payment on a little 2-bedroom townhouse in the east end of Ottawa, near my dad at the time. And to give you the full story, this was my father's best advice to me. This was in 2012. The little townhouse was $230,000. That, ladies and gentlemen, was 3 years before the Liberal government took office. That was the Canadian promise, that if you work hard, you can get ahead. And that is what we are fighting for. So this is why I'm standing by my husband's side to fight with him, because we want to restore the Canadian promise that if you work hard, you can get ahead. That is why I am willing to share my husband with all of you and our next Prime Minister, Pierre
taxes for change? Who's voting to build homes you can afford for a change? Who's voting to stop the crime for a change? And who's voting to put Canada first for a change? Sure need to put this country first, now more than ever, my friends. Before I get into the subject today, which of course is to announce the biggest crackdown on crime in Canadian history, I have to address today's latest disrespect by President Trump of our country. While President Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs for dozens of countries, he kept those tariffs in place on Canada. Take that in for a moment. Almost every country in the world got a pause on American tariffs, but not us. America's best friend. Our steel workers, aluminum workers, auto workers, lumber workers hit again. This after Prime Minister Carney boasted that he had a, quote, productive phone call with the president. He said that he had made progress with the president. What progress? What progress do the auto workers in Brampton and Windsor and elsewhere in Canada today see? Now, to be clear, I'm not blaming Prime Minister Carney for President Trump's tariffs. These tariffs are uncalled for and unjustified. And no one can control this president. But that's precisely the point. Prime Minister Carney is running his entire campaign on a false promise that he can control the president through magical, masterful negotiating techniques. Well, we know now that that is not true. Nobody can control this president. And while I will move quickly to negotiate an end to tariffs with protections for Canadian sovereignty as quickly as possible, we need to focus on what we can control. And this is what we can control, my friends. We need to reverse the disastrous liberal economic policies of the last 10 years that made us aujourd'hui, le président Trump nous a respecté encore. Il a annoncé une pause de 90 jours sur les tarifs douaniers visant des douzaines d'autres pays. Mais il a gardé en place des tarifs sur le Canada. Nos travailleurs de l'acier, de l'aluminium, de bois d'œuvre, de l'automobile. Pensez-y, lorsque Donald Trump a donné une pause aux douzaines d'autres pays, le Canada continue de payer. We know where Canada's police stand. We were very pleased to receive the endorsement of Adrian Woolley, the president of the Thank you very much. Thanks for backing me up. You have a message to Canadians from the great men and women who put on the uniform in your membership.
We couldn't be happier to support you, Pierre. We need a change. Our streets are overrun with criminals. They don't. The Liberals do not look after our police officers. They put criminals first and Canadians second, and we can't take it anymore. It's absolutely time for a change.
Put their lives on the line every day, who kiss their kids goodbye in the morning, not knowing if they will return. Those are the heroes that keep us safe. And I want to thank the Durham Police Association, the Barrie Police Association, I love you too, my friend. thank you very much. That's a very important cause, autism and many more. And if you went down at all the courage of our police officers, let's look back to 2022. 2 days after Christmas near Brantford, OPP Constable Greg Hirschella was shot and killed. The accused, Randall McKenzie, had a long history of convictions for violent crime, but guess what? He was out on bail. He had already attacked his ex-girlfriend and been caught with an illegal firearm. He'd been denied bail at first, but then the judge changed his mind and turned him loose. These are just one of the many examples that if we look over to 2018, Mississauga, a 14-year-old boy, Riley, was killed by two brothers, one of whom was out on bail for robbery, death threats, and violating other bail conditions. So he violates the bail conditions, and they let him out on bail again. 5 years later, they pled guilty to the lesser offense of manslaughter, which the family rightly called a denial of justice. And then if you turn the page to the next story, you have Darian's grandparents, Flo and Paul, who are here today. In Brampton, Darian was a beautiful and beloved young woman from a loving family whose life was taken tragically 5 years ago. The accused was an ex of hers who was out on bail for weapons charges, violence, and breaking contact orders with her. Unbelievably, as we gather here today, he can apply for bail again. No family should have to face that. And then there's Tori Stafford. In 2009, Michael Rafferty and Terry Lynn McClintock murdered Tori just a few months shy of her 9th birthday. Despite being sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years, the Carney Trudeau Liberals let Rafferty move to a medium security prison, and McClintock was moved to a healing lodge in 2018. A move that was only reversed because of strong pressure from Conservative members of Parliament in the House of Commons. This radical wave of crime is not happening by accident. These radical decisions are not being simply handed out by judges. They are being imposed by catch and release laws of the Liberal government. They have passed catch and release bail C-75. They passed C-5, allowing house arrest for the worst offenders. They reduced criminal penalties and sentences for the following crimes. Get this, get this. I want to go through the list. Using a firearm in the commission of an offense, possession of a firearm, possession of prohibited and restricted weapons, possession of a weapon obtained by the commission of an offense, stealing a gun, really, weapons trafficking, possession for the purposes of trafficking, importing and exporting weapons, discharging a weapon with the intent to harm somebody, discharging a firearm recklessly, robbery with a firearm, extortion with a firearm, unlawful sale and distribution of tobacco products, Controlled and Drug Substances Act, trafficking, possession of illegal substances, trafficking, exporting for the purposes of exporting. We've got production of controlled substances like fentanyl. And that literally, you can kill someone with 2 milligrams of this stuff. And the Liberals, all of those offenses, they have reduced the penalties to release these offenders into our streets again and again and again. Now let me be clear, every single Liberal MP and minister running for re-election under the Carney Liberals voted in favor of every single one of these soft on crime laws. They all voted for catch and release bail. Now that means that the same 40 offenders in Vancouver were released and were able to be rearrested 6,000 times. 40 offenders arrested 6,000 times. Each and every one of them would have committed crime on average once every 2 days, every 2 days for an entire year. Now we have Ron Chinzer here. Come on up here, Ron. Police officer. Ron running for us in Oakville, but he's Oakville East, but he is a long-time police officer, including for Peel. Yes, sir. And tell me what you've seen from catch and release under Liberal Bill C-75.
If I were to explain to you and have you live the life of an average police officer just over the last 6 years, ever since Bill C-75 came in 2019, it would keep you up for decades. And it's terrible. We have families who have lost their loved ones, their kids in their own household from fentanyl overdoses, and police officers and first responders have to tell the family. We have repeat violent offenders committing murders, carjackings, home invasions, and when we catch them, we have to tell these innocent Canadian victims, good people with their family, their loved ones in their house, that the person who did this was on bail. And we're trying everything we can do to keep this person in custody, but this Liberal government has always let them out. That heartbreak was the reason why I got involved with Pierre Poilievre. I have been lobbying to government as an independent police officer today. Please bring back common sense. And out of all of the politicians I've met, years ago I met with Pierre Poilievre. He was the only politician to ever ask me, how do we fix it?
And Ron, I'm happy to say that we will fix it. A Canada First Conservative government will repeal catch and release bail and we will repeal the house arrest law. House arrest allows the same repeat car thieves. Have anybody had their car stolen here? Okay, sorry, let me rephrase my question. Has anyone not had their car stolen? People like to just step out sometime during the rally today, make sure your car's still there. But joking aside, career car thieves get to do their sentences at home. It's house arrest. They can sit there watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto. We're going to repeal house arrest for serious offenders and career criminals. We will also create a new offense for intimate partner violence to take domestic abuse. We will bring in mandatory life sentences for human traffickers, gun smugglers. And we know that when you're mass marketing fentanyl, 40 milligrams of which is enough to kill 20 people, you are effectively committing mass murder. You're firing a bullet into a crowded room. You might not know who will die, but somebody will definitely die. So we will treat fentanyl mass marketers and producers for the murderers that they are. They will have life sentences in jail. We'll shoot one of your employees. Extortion has exploded under this Liberal government, which eliminated mandatory jail time for extortionists and allowed the worst extortionists, including those caught using guns, to serve their sentences at home. And that's why I'm so proud to have my deputy leader, Tim Uppel, here, who's going to tell the meeting about the bill to stop the extortion for change.
Thank you very much. As you said, that when these soft on crime Liberals took office, they changed the laws and extortion took off up to over 400% in some areas. And these are very serious crimes, like you said. Shooting at homes when families are at home. Full houses burnt down as arson. And they were being released on bail. They were not even being caught. Police were doing the hard job of arresting them, and they were still getting out. We've got crime both on the police we take Canada with safety Pierre Poilievre, Prime Minister now, take Canada with safety
Before the Liberals came along. And now Mr. Carney is proposing the exact same policies that Trudeau used to give us the worst housing inflation in the G7. More government bureaucracies, more government programs in Ottawa. We don't need bureaucrats to build homes. We have carpenters, electricians, and plumbers for that. What we need is the government to get out of the way. I want to hear louder than that. I need you to vote. If you don't vote, then things won't change. We'll get a fourth Liberal term. We don't want that. Sovereign people that stands on its own 2 feet, harvests its resources, trades with each other, builds homes for its youth, protects its vulnerable, secures its borders, honors its history, builds its security, and raises its flag. We are not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of gatekeepers and grandees, of rulers and rule makers. No, we are a nation of entrepreneurs and explorers, of artists and adventurers, of warriors and workers, of patriots and pioneers united around the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a beautiful life and a wonderful home on a safe street around the world.